All type of knowledge ultimately means self-knowledge. Running water never grows stale, so you gotta just keep on flowing. I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, Manga chapter 591. And guys, unfortunately, it's looking like we called it. It's looking like our boy Shousa is doomed. This chapter just had to leave off with such a crazy cliffhanger. And I'm really just hoping that Hard doesn't pull the trigger on this one, because you know what, I know we have to have people on our side die, but when it comes to deaths on the Chin side, even though we've had many people die on our side, like Mako, Kyuko, Gune, Kitari, none of those deaths have really come too close to home. Even though you may have gotten the feels just a little bit, you weren't really too invested into any of those characters. But when it comes to Shousa, this man is actually one of the original members of the Heishin unit. And if he were to actually go out in the next chapter, then this would be a major loss. And if he goes out saving Kanto, then Kanto, my man, you have some big shoes to fill.
You know, homegirl's chilling, she out here shopping, green hair, nice top, jeans on fleek. She's enjoying the picture. She's enjoying her day, you know. But yo, yo, them size 15s, they look like boats.
Alright guys, so this week's chapter starts out with a diagram of the battlefield, and we get to see in this diagram that even though we're not getting any specific numbers, that the Zhao are definitely outnumbered in the Chin due to the size of their armies. And immediately after that, we find ourselves with the Sosui cavalry, and we see that they're advancing at an incredible rate. And while Shousa's men are in all of this, Sosha lets us know that this is because normally Sosui reserves half of his cavalry to be able to go around and help others. But this is what it looks like when his cavalry is allowed to fully focus on attacking. But even though on the surface this looks great, it does have its drawbacks, because that means the guys on the ground won't be getting their normal backup and will have to handle everything themselves. Over at 10, we see that she's getting a lot of reports, but for the most part, things are looking good, and she's finding out that they're smashing through Zhao's defenses on nearly all fronts. And here we get a little glimpse into 10's plan, because this is exactly what she wants. Being that this is the first time they're going up against Chigaryu, she wants him to be caught off guard by how fierce their attacks have been. This, she believes, will mistakenly lead him to think that this is the extent of the Heishin unit's strength. But when their trump cards show themselves at the very front, then their true strength will blow Chigaryu's expectations out of the water.
That knocked my hat off.
And 10 believes that this will allow them to take Chigaryu's head in a single push. Then with 10 seeing both to her left and right the Ako and Gyokoho armies engaged, we then find ourselves flashing back to last night's strategy meeting. We see that Danza volunteered to take on the Banaji army and the remnants of the Gakue army, while Banyo says that the Gyokoho would stop the Gyun army, leaving Chigaryu's army up to the Heishin unit. And even though 10 has her reasons to doubt these matchups, Banyo says that they will stop them no matter the cost. But that in turn, the Heishin unit needs to slay Chigaryu, because they believe that he is the man who is controlling the Zhao's left wing right now. Back to the present, we find ourselves in the midst of the battle between the Gyokoho unit and the Gyun army. And right away, we see that Banyo looks like a human pincushion with all the arrows that he has in him. But as the others seem worried, we see that he makes no big deal out of it, as he pulls them out and tells them not to make a fuss, and that it would take more than that to slow him down. But what's really impressive is that even though you see Banyo littered with all these arrows, we see that none of them ever hit any vital spots. And I really don't think that's by any chance. I think these guys learn at an early age just how to dodge these attacks. But then we get to see Gyun's elites arriving, and they're being led by the 10 spears. And right away when they arrive, we see that Shitaku definitely hasn't forgotten about these guys and what they did to his brother.
And I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
And even though it looks like he wants vengeance, in this initial clash, it looks like the Ryun and 10 Spears are getting the best of the Gyoko-ho. But Banyo urges his men to stand their ground, even if it costs them their lives, because they cannot allow the Gyun army to approach the Hishin unit. Then on the opposite end of the battlefield, we find ourselves with the Banaji army. And for some reason, when we got to this panel, I couldn't help but to focus on Banaji's intricate hairstyle here. I mean, normally he's got the helmet on so you don't see this type of stuff. But I have to say, man, if this guy ever loses his job on a battlefield, he could definitely pursue his other talents. Because not everybody has these types of skills.
And that's how you fade your hair. That's the first time I done it without my mom's help, but I think I did pretty good.
But Banaji, with the Ako army in front of him, believes that it's time that his army joins the fight. And with him sending out his first wave, we also find out from Banaji that a lot of the troops who were injured on the first day of battle have now recovered and are ready to do battle once again. Along with the fact that his army is now joined together with the Gakue army, I find it kind of funny because I remember when Ohan crippled the Banaji army to the point that they weren't going to have any more impact on this battlefield. But now with all the developments that have happened on the battlefield, Banaji actually finds himself leading the largest army. Then over at the Ako army, we actually see that Danza is sending out his first wave as well. And he's also drilling into the men's heads that there will be no retreating this day, because to retreat would mean certain death. And then right after this, we see our boy Akakin begin to set off, and what he intends to do is go pay Banaji a visit, and if the stars align, perhaps even slay him. And even though I don't expect Akakin to slay Banaji, I'm really interested in seeing this battle. I kind of want to see how Akakin fares against somebody at Banaji's level. But really, this seems more or less to be a bit of a diversion to keep Banaji busy, because as Danza lets us know, Banaji isn't someone they can face head on. And they need someone down there to be able to sow confusion amongst their ranks. Back over at 10, we see that she's receiving reports about what's going on the battlefield. On the right, she learns that the Gyoko-ho, even though struggling, are still holding down the Gyun army, and on the left that the Banaji and Ako armies are about to clash. But in the center, we see that things are still going according to plan. So well, in fact, that one of 10's officers believes that now is the perfect time to have Shin take advantage of this opportunity. But 10 says not yet, because she knows that this isn't the right time. She believes that there's more to Chigaryu's defense than he's showing right now, and that now should be the time for him to try to pull something off. Then on cue, we find ourselves with Chigaryu, who after seeing the strength of the Hishin unit, thinks that he may have slightly underestimated them a bit.
Yeah, you think?
But it appears at this point that Chigaryu no longer intends to play any games, as he calls for the Dojaku to reinforce the third layer and to assume the Shifting Sands formation. And apparently this Shifting Sands formation is a sight to see, as it's hyped up by a couple of Chigaryu's men who haven't seen it in a while, but are assured that the Hishin unit's advance ends right here. But I have to admit, I was kind of skeptical, because you know most things don't live up to the hype.
Step back, new friends. I'll lead the way, for tonight evil's met its match.
Fantastic! Thank you again for coming.
Wow, right out of the gate.
And Chigaryu goes on to say that warfare is all about flow, and that flow is about to change. And as the men get into formation, we see that they're eagerly awaiting the Hishin unit who has just broken through the second line of defense. And we see exactly why these guys are excited, because as the Hishin unit arrives, it's almost like they're running into a brick wall. Everybody's confused about what's going on and why these soldiers appear to be so much stronger. And at the HQ, 10 and her men can see that the progress has come to a screeching halt. But 10 goes on to explain that Chigaryu has finally shown his true colors, and that if Gyun was considered to be Rinsojo's sword, then Chigaryu could be considered to be his shield. This, in 10's estimation, makes this defense worthy of a member of the Three Great Heavens, which prompts our men to wonder how in the world will they ever get past something like that. And this appears to be the moment that 10 was waiting for earlier, as she tells them that he'll be able to break through it all right, as if there was any doubt. After all, he is a man who will one day stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of the Three Great Heavens and Chin 6. Then stopping to even correct herself, saying no, he'll surpass them, because he's a man who will become a great general of the heavens. And with that, we see Shin emerging at the front of his army, obliterating Chigaryu's defense, while at the same time boosting his men's morale and creating an opening. And Ten yells to Shin to cut them all down and lead everyone forward, take command of this flow, and bring down Chigaryu. Chigaryu and his men can only look on in disbelief as it appears that the Hishin unit is coming for his head. Then back over at Shousa's group, we see that they're noticing that the cavalry is back on fire again, and they decide that it's probably time that they get going too. But on their way out, Shousa notices another group that seems to be struggling pretty bad, but one of Shousa's men tells him that he thinks it's a little too late for those guys, and Shousa agrees with him. But another one of his men just has to know whose banner that is, and they notice that it's Ante, and that that's also the group where Kanto and the other newbies were posted. And even though Shousa remembers the words that Ten said warning him that if it looks like they're beyond salvation, then don't even try in the first place. But also remembering what Kanto told Shousa earlier when he said that he was seriously so glad that he got into the Hishin unit. And Shousa, making a pretty reckless decision, tells his men, "Sorry, I'm gonna need 10 of you to follow me. The rest of you go on ahead." And as his men look at him puzzled and some even call out to him, Shousa heads in the direction of Kanto and the rookies who seem to be desperately hanging on. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. Alright guys, so to me that was a great chapter of Kingdom. I really enjoyed that chapter. If I had to give one complaint about this chapter though, the one thing that I thought could have been more fleshed out was Chigaryu's plan. Like, I would have really liked to know what this shifting sands formation actually did. Because, I mean, I really thought it looked pretty cool, but it just wasn't explained enough. We didn't really know what actually happened. Like, why weren't the Hishin unit able to break through it? Because, yeah, I know Chigaryu had his elites reinforce the formation and everything like that, but besides that, we really don't know too much more about it. Like, I can speculate all day long about what I thought happened, but you really shouldn't have to do that. I mean, even though this was just something placed here for Shin to overcome, I thought it could have been handled a little bit better, especially since the chapter was pretty much named after the fact that Chigaryu was actually the shield of Rensojo. But getting into the stuff that I liked about this chapter, I thought Ten had a pretty good strategy when it came to her approach with Chigaryu. And not even just with Chigaryu, but actually Zhao's entire right wing. The whole plan was relatively simple and really just designed so that they could take Chigaryu's head. Like, for the most part, all the Ako and Gyokuho armies pretty much had to do was just buy enough time for the Hishin unit to get within striking distance of Chigaryu. And I really liked how from the center we actually saw Ten monitoring what was going on the left and right side and actually receiving the reports, and it actually kind of gave you that feel like she was the strategist for the entire right wing and not just the Hishin unit. And just seeing her looking over the entire right wing, it actually gives you more of an appreciation for people like Osen and Riboku, because as grand a scale as the battle on the right wing is, they have to be able to observe even more with whatever's going on in the right, the left, and the center. But getting back to the plan, I thought it was pretty smart of Ten to try to bait Chigaryu into thinking that this was all the Hishin unit had to offer, and once he showed his hand, go on an even stronger attack with Shin and Kyokai leading the way. And the crazy thing here is, guys, even though it looks like Shin is about to break through the third line of defense, and I'm not too sure, but I think that's actually Chigaryu's last line of defense right there, Chigaryu, even though he looks a little bit worried, still doesn't have a drop of sweat on him. So to me, that's telling me he's pretty much cool as a cucumber, so I'm thinking he might have something else up his sleeve. But I do think even if in the next chapter we see that he actually comes up with something, they've been focusing so heavily on Shin toward the end of this chapter that it's easy to forget about Kyokai. And that might factor into Ten's plan as well, because if Chigaryu tries to focus so heavily on Shin, then that's definitely going to leave Kyokai free to do what she does. But the last thing I really wanted to touch on when it comes to this chapter definitely has to be the Shousa stuff. Now, what it actually looks like, guys, is that Shousa is walking into like certain death here. I mean, with everything that Ten said to him, and with his own guys even telling him that it looks like it's too late for those guys over there, it's just not looking good for Shousa. And even though the death flag is raised pretty high on Shousa right now, I think there's still like the smallest possibility that he could survive. And I mean, the only reason I say that is because when it comes to Kanto, Har has really been pushing this guy, right? And like, we're meant to believe that he's like the next big thing on the Hishin unit, right? The problem is, besides what we saw with his like awakening and things like that, we really haven't seen too much from him. He actually seems pretty ordinary when it comes to fighting. Like, all the fights we've seen him in, he's pretty much struggling. To be honest, when it comes to fighting skills, I almost want to say he's on par with somebody like Bihei. So to me, honestly, I would actually like to see Kanto do something himself to warrant all of this attention that he's been getting. Like, show us a little bit of a glimmer, like a speck of martial ability from this guy. Like, it'd be nice if Shousa was running up there, but Kanto actually saved his own unit himself. But if it winds up turning out the way that we all think and Shousa actually does die, then I really hope that that motivates the hell out of Kanto and he like takes it to the next level. I actually think it would be pretty cool if Kanto actually approached Shin the way that Shin had approached Oki back in the day and requested Shin personally trains him. And I think it would be pretty hilarious if Shin actually gave Kanto the same exact treatment that he got from Oki. But hopefully, man, even though it's not looking good, we won't have to bury one of our OGs next chapter. And even though the death flags have been strong for this one, they were strong for Banyo too. And instead of losing him, we wound up losing Kyoko. So anything's possible. But now, guys, let's move on to the comment of the week. And if you remember last week, guys, I was talking a lot about what Osun's plan could possibly be for food once they take Gyo. Because now that they've burnt a little more than half, and I'm sure the citizens of Gyo will probably eat the rest, it's really not leaving them a lot of options. But one comment that came in that was thinking a little bit outside of the box comes from this man right here. And what he had to say was, I think they will eat the horses after the win and walk. And I know it's different, and even though at first I thought it was a little bit too risky because I would think they would still need their cavalry, but another commenter actually chimed in and said that once actually inside the city of Gyo, they really wouldn't need the horses. And even though it seems a little bit crazy, I can't lie, I kind of like it. But I really kind of want to know what you guys think about that. Do you think it's something that could actually be plausible? Because I don't know, for some reason I could see Osun's twisted mind coming up with something like that. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comment section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.